What up? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And look at you. You done stumbled upon little OTB Saints, where we bring you all the latest black and gold coverage.
Who are the Saints going to draft? Who's going to be their quarterback? What does the salary cap look like? All that information and more.
Hope you enjoy it. Like, subscribe. I mean, I'm trying to find interesting things to think about or talk about with the Saints. Unfortunately, it feels like some of the more interesting stuff is how horribly uninteresting they are. Again, I do think that Dennis Allen will be back next year, though I don't think that's a guarantee when you look at Sunday's game. I mean, the amount of rage that would be created if you at home with the chance to, even though I don't care about the playoffs, and I think actually a lot of Saints fans don't really care that much, to be fair.
Well, now you're at the point because you've won some games. Now it's like, well, our draft pick's not going to be great anyways.
Yeah. So, okay. So. I guess. No, you're right. And we crossed that threshold, what, 2 weeks ago? I think you said
ago.
that? Yeah. No, so you're right about that. I guess what I mean is, like, if I'm asking Saints fans, and maybe, Mario, you can weigh in on this and see if you agree. If I'm asking Saints fans, what's your bigger motivation for Sunday? Making the playoffs or just beating the Falcons? I still think the answer is they just want to beat the Falcons. They don't want to go 0-2 against Atlanta.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, always nice to beat those guys. And like you said, going 0-2 against them in a season where maybe one of those wins would have put you in the playoffs would look really bad.
And when they're garbage.
Yes.
Like when they have the worst OC in the entire NFL. They don't have a quarterback. Their defense is made up of your old players. There's just like they have all these weapons they don't know how to use. It would so again, if you lose that game at home, and especially if it goes badly, I have to imagine maybe it changes the math on Dennis Allen. If it doesn't, one thing I'll be fascinated to see is what is the buy-in of the Who Dat Nation next year.
Yeah.
Because you've already seen it go down. And if you just say you're going to run it back, I mean, you really run the risk of alienating the fan base.
The Saints haven't been in this situation in a very long time, obviously, because you had Sean Payton there. Like, you didn't have this disdain for a head coach, and so, like, growing up, like, yeah, sure, absolutely you had it, but it's Saints fans are so used to at least being in the conversation, at least knowing that you're going to put a solid product out there. And then so, like, you see it last year, and there was a lot of people that were not happy about that, but it's like, okay, well, give him another year. I mean, maybe he can figure it out. And honestly, like, there's nothing to lean back on, like we've talked about so many times. Like,
I understood a second year, certainly.
Right, but there wasn't anything to, like, when he was with the Raiders, he had a rough first year. It's like, no, there was none of that. I mean, I think you have to really go back to Mike Ditka, because even with Jim Haslett, like, it wasn't always great. 10-6. 7-9, 9-7, 8-8, 8-8, and then the last year was really bad, 3-13. But remember where the Saints fans were at that point.
Yeah, that's a different time.
It's a completely different time. You won your first ever playoff game in 2000 against the Rams, right? I mean, Jim Haslett for a little bit there, he felt like a savior because it had been so bad. But since then, I mean, you've been one of the standards of the NFL.
Yeah.
And so, like, Saints fans aren't used to being in this territory. But I don't think that should matter, right? You can't use that as, well, I mean, I think you're just spoiled. No, that's not it. Because if you were just spoiled, I would come up here and I would say that. It's not that.
No.
You just are getting the least amount of what you should be getting from a head coach. You have somebody that is top 15 all-time bad. It just is. That is the analytics of it. Words lie, numbers don't, okay? And so, yeah, Saints fans right now, I mean, there's a lot of questions that they should be asking and talking about the playoffs. And if you don't make the playoffs and they bring DA back, like, how should you feel? You should feel disappointed. You should feel unfulfilled. Is actually how you should feel.
Yeah. And I think people will. So I'll be interested to see that. But again, I should shelve some of this talk for the offseason. If you look at the game this Sunday, you should win. You've played good football as of late. Like, you've turned in some of your best performances. The offensive line, after a year of being bad, has really started to figure it out. And I know that this is obvious, but it turns out, Jake, when the O-line plays good, that's when Derek Carr can be actually good. Right? If you think about the best games this season. So Carr's faced double-digit pressures in 7 games this year. Saints are 2-5 in those games. You look against the Bucs, maybe his best game on Sunday, only got pressured 6 times. The Giants, other game he was good, he got pressured 4. Patriots 3, Colts 3. No coincidence. And I know this is obvious because, yeah, every quarterback does better without pressure, but I do think the disparity with Carr is higher than most. And that's supported by what you've heard out of defenders that after the game have talked trash, basically saying, oh, no, we know Carr. Like, you get to Carr, he will start to freak out. And so if you really are going to run it back with DA, you really are going to run it back with Carr, and you want to win, well, first off, you want to win the game on Sunday. That starts up front then with protecting him. And if you're going to run it back, you got to solve the offensive line. If you're going to try to make the $40 million investment work, you just got to figure out how to get that offensive line consistently good. And if you're talking about what's going to decide the game on Sunday, I mean, again, look no further than how much are people in Derek Carr's face, how soon, and that'll likely tell you how he does and how the game goes.
So, yeah, you can throw some blame and some shade at the offensive line because we've talked about it. I mean, it's been league worst bad. And even actually, like some of your positions are worse than top reserves in the league. Like you're grading and you're like 65th out of, 64 starters. I mean, you're like beyond bad. And so you can blame, like they deserve some of it here, but also when you're making the amount and when you're counted on like Derek Carr is, when you bring him in to be kind of, not, I don't want to say the savior, but to fix a lot of your issues, you have to be better at creating something on your own in the pocket.
I mean, the flat-out truth is that Derek Carr and this entire team has fallen well short of expectations. You did all of this kind of all-in maneuvering and created the oldest roster in the NFL because you knew your opportunity was here. This was a very easy schedule in a very bad division. And so your opportunity to win the division and go to the playoffs and maybe do something is why you went so hard all in on Derek Carr. And I thought it could work too. I thought it could. I was wrong.
But like, look at what happened in the Superdome over the weekend or whatever day that, well, I don't even know what day it is today, when Washington and Texas played.
Oh, wait.
Was that Sunday or Monday? Monday. Feeling good about that now. Monday night in the Dome. Like Murphy and Sweat were getting pressure in the interior of the Texas defensive line, and it's not supposed to be as easy as Michael Penix Jr. made it look.
No.
But he is elite at stepping up, stepping out, turning his hips, finding an arm angle, and pushing the ball down the field. Not to check it down, but to create big explosive plays.
Yeah.
Because that's a skill set that you have to be elite in today's football. You have to. You can't go the other way when you have that. And that's where Derek Carr goes. He goes the other way.
Harder than most, too,
yes.
is the thing. There's a bigger
when there's
disparity.
when there's a clean pocket like he had against Tampa Bay often, he was really good. And so you can be really good in that situation, but you're not going to be successful in the NFL because that utopic feeling of having a clean pocket is about 10% of the time.
Yeah. It doesn't happen that often. Shaba says the best lines are lines with Evans and Nix at guard. The guards allowed Breeze to step up in the pocket with ease. Certainly, we learned in the Breeze era that solidifying the interior really helped him. But we got to remember too, for a while there, Breeze was so good at protecting himself, the Saints didn't commit anything to the offensive line.
Yeah.
They were just like, screw it, we'll plug in and play whoever, and Drew Brees just so good that he'll make up for it. Now, eventually, Brees was still putting up crazy numbers, but it was leading to a bunch of many mistakes. You had the drama with Jimmy Graham, and so you go and get Max Unger, and look what happened. Everything changed, right? Because here you had a quarterback that already could be great behind a subpar offensive line. Then you gave him a good one, and it just skyrocketed. You got to give Carr a good one if you just want him to be good. And so you have to figure that out. And if you want to win this game on Sunday, they have to play well.
Yeah, and you look at the Saints offensive line that they wrote out there in that game. I mean, Max Garcia played 9 plays. Cesar Ruiz, who continues to struggle, he played 70 plays. Landon Young, who I thought was a really good player at Kentucky and never thought he was a Sunday player. Like, he's having to play for you. He's 19 plays on the game.
Did he play well on Sunday when he came in, or no?
No, he started and then he got hurt. He played 19 plays, graded out 56%.
Oh, I did backwards. I thought he came in after.
No.
Okay.
Cam Irving came in and he graded out at 50%, playing 51 plays. So, it's makeshift. Now, James Hurst and Andrew Speed actually did play well on the left side.
Andrew Speed has kind of been your
He's been
O-line savior
he has been
against
the most
all odds.
consistent guy playing a different position.
Playing left
Right?
tackle. Well, that is one of the reasons why they signed Petey so much back in the day is he can play all 5 positions, and he had played all 5 positions at times. But, yeah,
Trevor Penning
played
one play.
Jesus. Yeah, Penning's a disastrous pick. Just
Right,
add him to the Peyton Turner, Marcus Davenport mix.
Yeah. Hand up on that one. He fooled me at the Senior Bowl. He was mauling people, right? And I'm like, and sometimes like we do have to remember, like Charlie Hustle can get you so far, but sometimes it's not going to be the story.
Yeah.
And it felt like maybe I got duped by that. Like he was finishing plays. He was like pancaking rushers from Oklahoma and Ohio State. And I'm like, oh, man, okay, he can play at this level. He can't play at this level. Not right now. Not unless he makes drastic leaps and bounds improvements in the offseason. Look, you're not going to play, and again, I'm not trying to be incredibly disrespectful. I know it's going to sound that way. You're not playing Landon Young or signing Irving off the street unless you're just a really bad player in a bad position right now that they see no future in.
And unfortunately, I mean, who knows how long Ramchick is going to stay in this game, as it seems like his body is maybe betraying him, which would be an ultimate bummer end to what was once one of the most promising careers we'd seen in this entire, really probably in the history of the Saints, when you talk about bursting on the scene in the way that Ramchick did. So we'll see. Win on Sunday just to beat the Falcons. I would much rather that than lose. I don't care if you make the playoffs or not. That's kind of, neither here nor there. But whatever. I mean, if you win, that's the only way that you're going to set yourself up to potentially make the playoffs. Is Baker Mayfield playing?
Yeah. As of right now. Like, unless there's some sort of setback.
If Mayfield is out, that division would feel maybe a bit more realistic. But I feel like, especially after the embarrassment of last week, I feel like you're getting a hungry Bucs team that causes Tepper to throw another drink into the crowd, unfortunately.
Do we know if the Red Rifle is going to get his opportunity is the important question.
I doubt it, right? No, Tepper's definitely strikes me as no. He's going to want Bryce Young out.
Okay.
Well, and as bad as the Bucs played last week, like unfortunately for the Saints, they also made a bunch of uncharacteristic mistakes. Like it was late in the game. They were down by I think
Baker
8 at that point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Baker hit Trey Palmer. He took it for like 60 yards, fumbled at the end of the play. So it's like the Saints kind of got away with that one. Like if you go back and really break it down, like those 4 turnovers is something that the Bucs have not done because they were on like a 4 to 5 game winning streak before that. I can't imagine they're going to come out flat against the Panthers. Trey
Palmer, Nebraska's best receiver in school history, legend of the game.
Yeah, the Saints got 2 late hits on Baker this year, like 2 really hard hits. Who was the first one? I believe it was Granderson, I want to say. And then Tyrann Mathieu.
It was the personal foul run for the score.
Yeah, they got a little salty, too, in the post-game, talking about how the Saints always late hit.
Yeah, for what it's worth, it's kind of true, just based on those 2 games. But either way, I think knowing Baker is going to play, but will he be at 100% with those rib injuries?
Bowles had a press conference noon on Tuesday, said that he's good to go at the moment. That's been the last update.
Baker will play. And even if he's got one arm, he's probably going to be good enough to beat the Panthers. But
against
whatever.
his old team, yeah.
Beat the Falcons. Who cares? Beat the Falcons and let the chips fall where they may. And then spend an entire offseason selling your fan base on Dennis Allen again. Boy, feels bad saying out loud. Wow, just amazing black and gold takes right there, Jake.
I don't think I've ever heard any takes that are better than the 2 guys that just gave you that take.
And you can keep getting them by going ahead and liking, subscribing, ringing the bell to get notifications when we post. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next OTB Saints.